When a woman hurts you, your first instinct is to explain yourself, to fight for answers, to beg for closure that never comes. But while you're sitting there in pain, she's out laughing, acting like nothing happened. That hollow silence, that's where most men break. But you won't. Because what if I told you that this pain isn't the end? It's your beginning. You were never meant to be her puppet, her backup plan, or her emotional punching bag. You were meant to rise, to become the man she never believed you could be. And when she sees you again, she won't just remember the pain she caused. She'll regret it with everything inside her. If you've ever been betrayed, ghosted, lied to, discarded, or made to feel like you're not enough, comment no more. Chasing right now. This is about to change the way you see everything. Build a life she can't touch. Number 1. Build a life she can't touch. When a woman walks away from you like you were disposable, when she ghosts you, betrays your trust, mocks your pain through her indifference, what she's really doing is casting a bet. She bets that you are so dependent on her attention, so hungry for her approval, that you'll collapse the moment she withdraws. That's the gamble. She walks out and she expects to turn around and see you broken, stalking her socials, liking her pictures, DMing her friends, spiraling in quiet desperation. But this is where everything changes, because now your entire existence becomes a mission. Not to get her back, but to build a life so powerful, so expansive, so rooted in your values and direction that she no longer fits anywhere inside of it. You stop chasing conversations and start chasing outcomes. You stop seeking closure and start seeking discipline. You build. Every day you wake up and you give the world a version of you that's more focused, more resilient, more detached than the day before. You, Elim. She talks to your friends to check in, you never respond. And in that void, in that echo of nothingness, she hears everything she did to you and realizes you're never coming back. And here's what's worse for her. She thought you'd wait, that after she explored her options, after she entertained low-effort attention, she could come back to you like a safe place. But that place is gone. You're not angry. You're unavailable. You're not ignoring her. You're evolving. You no longer live where she left you. And every time she tries to check on your progress and finds nothing, every time she sends a text and it bounces, every time her ego seeks the comfort of your validation and finds only silence, she regrets, not just leaving you, but thinking you were the type of man who waits. She thought you were soft. You became steel. She thought she broke you. You became unreachable. And now she can only remember you because the man you are now, he never knew her. Don't explain yourself. Number 4, don't explain yourself. There comes a point where explaining yourself becomes another form of begging disguised as logic. You think you're seeking clarity. You think if you just laid it all out, if you explained how much you cared, how much you tried, how unfair she's been, she'd finally see the truth. But that's not how it works. The truth doesn't matter to someone who benefits from pretending not to understand. She didn't leave because she didn't know you loved her. She left because she didn't respect the love you gave. And you writing paragraphs trying to convince her of your worth is not noble. It's pathetic. She's not reading it with compassion. She's reading it with power. Every word you send, every voice note, every "I just need you to understand" message tells her that she still has emotional control. And the brutal reality, she doesn't care. If she did, you wouldn't be in this posit, and to begin with. So you must cut the need to be understood. That part of you that wants to explain, to be seen, to be validated, that's the old version of you. The version trained to believe that peace comes from being heard. But peace doesn't come from her understanding. Peace comes from your decision to stop making her understanding matter. You are not on trial. You don't need to prove you were good. You don't need to prove you were loyal. The man who knows his value doesn't submit a resume to someone who already threw it away. You want closure? Walk away with your silence. That's the only closure she doesn't know how to handle. When you say nothing, she has to fill in the blanks, and she will. She'll wonder if you're angry, if you're healing, if you moved on. That wondering will create far more emotional chaos than any explanation you could offer. Because while you're explaining, she's comfortable. She's still the center. She still holds the emotional pen. But when you cut off the explanation, you cut off her power. And that silence becomes deafening. She'll look for signs. She'll wait for messages. She'll anticipate your usual need to defend yourself. And when it never comes, when all she hears is your absence and all she sees is your growth, she won't understand it. And that confusion, that's her consequence. Because now, for the first time, she has to sit with her actions without your voice there to soften them. No justifications, no comfort, just the cold mirror of regret reflecting back a man who walked away without needing to be heard. That's how you win. Not by shouting, not by explaining, but by removing yourself from the courtroom she built and walking straight into a life that doesn't require her verdict. You don't explain your value, you embody it. Number 5. Emotional control. Emotional control. The most dangerous man in the world is the man who no longer reacts, not because he's numb, but because he's disciplined. Emotional control isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about deciding what deserves your energy. And 90% of what she says and does after she hurts you doesn't. You see, modern relationships have become arenas where emotional manipulation is currency. She flirts in front of you, waits for your reaction. She posts vague captions, checks if you respond. She disappears, knowing you'll spiral. And every time you respond with anger, with sadness, with desperation, she wins. Not because she's evil, but because she's testing. She wants to know if you're still under her influence. So when you react, you confirm her control. But when you don't, when she ghosts you and you go silent, when she tests you and you stay calm, when she tries to trigger you and you're unbothered, she loses grip. Emotional control isn't passive, it's active warfare. It's sitting with your rage and choosing not to feed it. It's seeing the bait and refusing to bite. It's crying behind closed doors, but showing up to the world with clarity and poise. It's the ability to feel without becoming a slave to the feeling. And this doesn't just apply to women. It applies to everything: rejection, disrespect, delays, loss. If you can master your emotional response to pain, you become unstoppable because you're no longer being pushed around by impulse. You start moving with intention. You start speaking less, thinking more, acting slower, hitting harder. And here's where it gets beautiful. The moment you stop reacting emotionally, she stops knowing what page you're on. She loses the script. Her power crumbles because she doesn't know if you're sad or healed or plotting your next move. And that confusion, that unease, that's the seed of her regret. Because for the first time, she's not in control. You are not just of her, but of yourself. And when a man masters his emotional world, he no longer fears loss. He no longer seeks approval. He walks into relationships. All relationships with boundaries and clarity, not desperation and need. He doesn't fight for attention. He filters it. He doesn't chase loyalty. He commands it. And even if she never regrets hurting you, it doesn't matter. Because the man you became as a result of her betrayal is the real reward. Your control, your poise, your silence, they become your power. You stop being emotional. You start being undeniable. Number 6, focus on yourself. When she, focus on yourself, leaves you, betrays you, rejects you, or slowly chips away at your confidence, with her indifference, your mind immediately goes into a spiral, trying to analyze her behavior, track her mood, swings, study her patterns, wonder if she's with someone else. Question what you did wrong, what you didn't do enough of, what changed, what you could have done better, and you fall into this endless mental loop that centers everything around her. She becomes the obsession even in her absence. She still owns your mind even after you've lost her body. That's the trap. the one most men stay stuck in for years, not days. And the only way out is radical redirection. Not to her, not to anyone, but back to yourself. Because you can't keep giving your energy to someone who's no longer in your life while simultaneously trying to rebuild your own. It doesn't work. You must become the center again. You must stop orbiting her world and start building your own. Gravitational field. Focus isn't just about avoiding distractions. It's about remembering who you are without the person who made you forget. And it starts by admitting you made her your everything, even though she treated you like nothing. And that's not love, that's dependency. So now you shift. Every time your mind drifts toward her, you catch it and you bring it back. You sit in your discomfort. You feel your pain. You don't medicate it with distractions or fake positivity. You face it. You learn to sit with your thoughts until they become quiet. You learn to fill your days with actions that serve you. Reading, lifting, writing down your goals, working in silence, mastering a skill, building something real. You make a list of what you want your life to look like 6 months from now. And you start taking small, relentless steps toward it every single day. You block out social media, stop checking her status, stop scrolling through highlight reels that sabotage your healing, and you refocus every second of your time into growth. You remove the need to be chosen, and you choose yourself fully without apology, without regret. Because the more you invest into yourself, the less space she occupies. Not because you hate her, but because you outgrew her. And one day you'll wake up and realize you didn't forget her. You just became so focused on your mission that she stopped being relevant to it. And that version of you, that man who rebuilt from ruin without needing attention, pity, or validation, that's the man she can't replace. That's the man she'll remember. That's the man she regrets losing. Not because he punished her, but because he healed without her. She thought you'd stay broken. You chose to get better. She thought you'd wait. You chose to win. Number 7. Treat her like a stranger. She expected you to. Treat her like a stranger. Hate her. She expected the angry texts, the emotional pleas, the "why are you doing this to me?" late night calls. She expected drama, chaos, pain, because that's what most men do when they get hurt. They lash out, they cry, they chase, they beg, and by doing so, they show her she still matters. But when you see her again, and you will, and you treat her like a stranger, something inside her breaks in a way she never expected. Because now she has to face a version of you that's healed so completely, so unapologetically, so far removed from who she once knew, that she's not even sure if you remember her. That's the power of true detachment. It's not pretending you don't care. It's actually not caring. It's not putting on an act. It's living a life where she no longer has relevance. So when you walk past her in public and you give her the same polite nod you'd give to a barista or a bank teller or a stranger you'll never see, again, she feels it. Not just in her ego, but in her soul, because she knows that level of indifference didn't come from spite. It came from growth, and that's the one thing she can't reverse. She can apologize, she can flirt, she can reach out, but she can't undo the evolution. She can't undo your healing. She can't compete with your peace. And when you interact with her, if you ever do, you stay calm. You don't engage emotionally. You don't remind her of the past. You don't look for closure. You don't try to make her jealous. You treat her like someone you once knew briefly, but never thought about again. That neutral tone, that calm demeanor, that unshaken composure that rattles her more than any argument ever could, because it tells her without words that she's no longer significant. And if she tries to pull you back into the past with questions, memories, or what-ifs, you don't engage, not because you're bitter, but because you've moved on. And that emotional distance, that's what makes her regret everything. Because she finally realizes she didn't just lose a relationship. She lost access to a man who upgraded so far beyond her emotional games, he no longer even plays. You stop being an ex. You become a stranger with a story she regrets writing. And that regret, That deep internal sting stays with her longer than any revenge post, any replacement relationship, or any rebound romance ever could. Because now she knows you're not angry, you're not waiting, you're not reacting, you're just gone emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And in that emptiness, she meets the consequences of her choices quietly, privately, painfully. You didn't block her out of hatred. You outgrew the need to keep her close, and in doing so, you became someone she no longer has the privilege to know. Number 8, upgrade your circle. The people upgrade your circle around you either sharpen you or dull you. And after heartbreak, after betrayal, after she discarded you like you meant nothing, you begin to realize how fragile your environment is. Some of the people you called friends tell you to just move on because they don't understand the depths of what you feel. Others encourage you to rebound with another woman, to bury the pain in validation, in hookups and temporary distractions that only make the emptiness deeper. And if you're surrounded by men who are stuck, men who validate weakness, men who run from accountability, men who glorify emotional chaos as a badge of honor, then you'll become one of them because your circle is your mirror. If they tolerate mediocrity, so will you. If they chase what breaks them, so will you. If they normalize weakness, you'll stay weak. So you must make the most difficult, most liberating decision of your life to outgrow the people who keep you small. You stop entertaining people who feed your pain and start surrounding yourself with those who push you toward purpose. And this isn't about finding the perfect tribe overnight. It's about cleaning house. You start with solitude. You stop filling the space with noise and start listening to your thoughts. You read books that challenge your mindset. You follow creators and thinkers who tell you the truth, not what's easy. You attend rooms where growth is the standard, not the exception. And slowly your entire frequency shifts because now your conversations change. You're no longer talking about her. You're talking about business, discipline, wealth, healing, boundaries. You're discussing ideas, not people. And the irony, as you rise, she sees it. Maybe not directly, maybe not immediately, but it reaches her and it cuts. Because now you're no longer the man who begged for her time. You're the man who sits in rooms she can't access. You're building with men who have no time for emotional games, only results. You didn't level up to impress her. You leveled up to become untouchable. And in doing so, you didn't just change your surroundings. You changed your destiny. She thought you'd drown. You built a ship and sailed into waters she can't follow. And that realization hits her deeper than any insult ever could because she knows now you don't just have better people around you. You became someone she no longer qualifies to stand beside. Number 9. Win in silence. Win in silence. After the breakup, the heartbreak, the emotional betrayal, the first thing your ego wants is proof. Proof that she sees your growth. Proof that she regrets it. Proof that she notices your glow up. So you start posting, showing off, trying to project strength through selfies, captions, and curated content. But real power doesn't broadcast. It builds in silence. The man who is truly rising doesn't need to show it. His presence speaks long before his posts ever could. You stop documenting your transformation and start living it fully. You stop uploading gym photos for her to see and start training for yourself. You stop posting business wins for likes and start stacking your income in private. You stop announcing your next moves and start making them so big the world feels them without needing a preview. And here's what makes silence powerful. It's not passive, it's precision. Because now she has nothing to monitor, no digital breadcrumbs, no clues, no status updates. You become a mystery, and nothing triggers regret more than the unknown. She's scrolling, hoping to see if you still care. Hoping to catch a glimpse of you showing pain or progress. And she sees nothing, just the quiet you left behind. And in that void, her mind runs wild. Is he better now? Is he with someone else? Did he forget me? That silence, that absence of validation becomes the loudest scream. It forces her to reflect, and for the first time, she sits with the consequences of losing you. Not because you said anything, but because you stopped showing anything. And beyond her, the world starts to notice. Not because you're loud, but because your energy changes. You walk different, you move different, you operate with intention. The results you build in the dark start shining too bright to ignore. And when she finally reaches out, because she will, trying to reconnect, you'll be so deep into your journey, so rooted in your purpose, you'll barely recognize the man who once needed her attention. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's the proof that you're not performing, you're evolving, and she'll regret not just what she lost, but how quietly you walked away and made her irrelevant in the process. Never chase again. Number 10. Never chase again. This is the final evolution. The moment you decide, not with emotion, but with absolute clarity, that you will never again lower your standards, your peace, your power, just to be chosen by someone who didn't see your value the first time. Because once you've been hurt, once you've been discarded, once you've poured your soul into someone who tossed it aside without flinching, you have a choice. Repeat the cycle or rewrite the code. And to rewrite the code means this: you never chase again. Not her, not anyone. Because now you understand that a man who chases love loses himself. He becomes a character in someone else's story, constantly auditioning, constantly pleasing, constantly adjusting to be liked, accepted, tolerated. And what does he get in return? Inconsistency, confusion, disrespect. You're not doing that again. The man who never chases again is the man who now demands alignment. He knows what he offers: loyalty, presence, growth, protection, and that value is no longer given to those who need convincing. If someone doesn't see it, they don't belong near it. You don't explain, you don't prove, you don't chase, you observe, you filter, you decide. And in this new state of being, everything changes. Relationships become easier, not because people are better, but because your standards are higher. You no longer fall for potential. You only move with proof. You no longer invest in chaos, hoping for change. You walk away the first time peace is compromised. And women feel that. They sense when a man no longer operates from desperation. They feel the weight of a man who knows his worth and has the discipline to walk away without flinching. That energy is rare, and the irony, that's when they chase. When you no longer care if they do. When your world is already full, your purpose already set, your table already prepared. But now, you're no longer moved by attention. You're moved by intention. And she will regret ever thinking you'd wait, ever thinking you'd compete, ever thinking you'd beg. Because now you don't chase, you replace, you don't explain, you evolve, and you don't look back. Because everything ahead of you is better than what you left behind. You're done. Not because you hate her, but because you love yourself too much to ever make someone the center of your world who couldn't even keep you in theirs. If you're done begging for love, done chasing what broke you, and finally, conclusion, ready to become the man she'll regret losing for the rest of her life, then this is your moment. The Stoic relationship. Blueprint is more than an ebook. It's the emotional wake-up call you were never given. It's filled with timeless Stoic principles that will shatter your old mindset and rebuild you into a man who never folds, never chases, and never gives his power away again. And now it's available as an audiobook, so you can let this truth rewire your soul while walking, lifting, jogging, or just sitting in silence, reclaiming what she thought she destroyed. The link is in the comments. No excuses, no waiting. If you're ready to grab the blueprint, comment, "I reclaim my power." Like the video and subscribe to help more men escape years of regret before it's too late.